All right, I'm so excited tonight that you guys are here and that we get to have our very first coffee and convo. And so we're right here in Palate Coffee Brewery in downtown Sanford, and that's the perfect place to start coffee and convo, right?
Yes,
So,
that's right.
And this whole segments that we're going to be doing are going to be real life subjects with real people, and us just having conversation and learning from each other, and hopefully everybody that watches will also be learning from us. Our topic today is back to school. It's a huge topic right now as everybody's trying to decide where they should put their children, if they stay at home, if they homeschool, if they go back to school, if they do distance learning. It's such a hot topic, and so I thought that we would talk about those options, get real conversation going with each other, and just share your heart with everybody. So Sandy, I thought maybe you could start as a teacher explaining, where you're coming from.
So when this all rolled out with distance learning, the big thing that the teachers have had to do is they've had to turn on a dime. They've had to take their expertise and turn it into where they used to have kids face to face. They've had to turn it on a dime with distance learning. And just when they catch a breath, now we're looking at a whole new world. And we're e-learning. We're learning all kinds of e-learning. And the options have gone from face-to-face where you're working with a kid and you feel you can do so much for them, and now you have to look at a screen, and there's so many fears and concerns. Can I do this job? I'm a professional. Will I be able to handle this? I'll have parents watching me. Are these parents, I'm going to be honest and real, a lot of the conversations I'm having with my teacher friends is, will I be evaluated by parents who are watching me on the camera? And not that I wouldn't be doing a great job, but I'm also doing it from my living room, so I don't have the resources. Or I'm in my classroom and I have 16 children in front of me, and then maybe 10 more that are on the screen. How do I meet this child's needs and meet the needs of the child that's on the camera?
It's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, teachers naturally are perfectionists. They want to be the best they can be, and the anxiety levels are so high.
So I think as a mom of 3 boys in the public school system, I experienced some of that, when we started distance learning. And unfortunately, I felt as a parent there were some gaps in my son's educational experience, and him being on an IEP and getting some special help at school. One of my biggest concerns when he goes back to school, whether it's face-to-face, virtual, whatever it may be, is he going to get the help that he needs? And if we do decide to keep him home, am I really going to have the time to give him the attention that not only he deserves, but that he needs to be successful in his, educational career as, a middle schooler?
And that's one of the biggest fears is, you want to deliver the best education to those children, but how can you do it on a screen? And there are some teachers who have made very hard decisions, who are in their 60s, who are they are the special ed teachers, and they're choosing to go back to face because those kids can't learn like your son. It was a complete not a failure, but they felt like a failure, that they couldn't reach the child's needs, so they're taking that risk. And then go ahead.
So Heather, I know that do you have 4 kids or 5?
I have 5 kids.
And you've homeschooled them all.
Yes.
So I'm sure that every child has a different learning style. Mm-hmm. So how, as one person, and I'm sure you do other things besides just homeschool, how do you balance it, and how do you meet each child's individual needs?
It's hard. I mean, it is a challenge. I'm not going to pretend that it just comes naturally and easily. You definitely have to be intentional, but it can be done. There's a way to incorporate certain times for all of your children. Maybe you do things like history together for all of them, because you can cover one subject on those different levels. And then maybe things like math that are more one-on-one, you do those individually. So there's definitely a way to it, to make sure that your children are all having their needs met, but yet still being able to do it from the safety of your home, and not having to worry about your child being at risk for getting COVID or anything else right now, or being in that situation where there's a teacher behind plexiglass, or wearing a mask all day and being stifled that way. So I think it definitely can be done. It just takes a lot of time and intentionality to make sure it happens.
And that's the thing. That's the time. I think that's one of the things that as a parent, I think the teachers are like, I have parents who are telling us that we don't have time. We're working from home. And I know, Laurel, that's something you and I have talked about is, what if I'm a professional, I'm working at home, how do I help my child? I'm not a homeschooler, nor do I. One parent said to me, I didn't homeschool my kids because I wanted to send them to school.
Yes.
So how do you balance it?
I was there. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. I never wanted to be a teacher. I love my kids, but that is not my strong suit. So being a working professional, I really had to search, and think about what my kids wanted. My oldest son, he wanted to go back face to face. He misses his friends. My middle son, he wanted to be homeschooled. And my little one, who's 5, he's like, well, I want to be at home sometimes, but then I want to go to school too. So he wanted hybrid. And so we had to make the really tough decision as parents to send all of our kids, all 3 boys, back to school face to face. From an educational perspective, we feel that that was the best choice, that they were going to get the best experience that way. From a pandemic and COVID-19 aspect, I'm scared, just because there's a lot I can do at home as far as, keeping their immune systems up and keeping them healthy and teaching them, washing their hands and things like that. But at the end of the day, they're boys. And they do
spin their masks.
Right? Or, I just ate something crazy. I don't need to wash my hands. What is this, dirt, or is this what is this? I'm gonna do it anyways. So it's a tough decision, and to be honest, my husband and I, we weren't on the same page, because I was searching, how can I manage being, a department head and keep my kids at home. But when I looked at it, it just wasn't possible for us. And we're in a great position to do it. But in all actuality, we really aren't. And
well, I think it's amazing, being an American, we do have those choices that we get to make for our children. No one's telling us how to school our children. Homeschooling is definitely an option, but I know it's not an option for everyone. Some parents do work, and sometimes you're just not meant to homeschool your children, And so I'm glad that the schools are offering different options. So, Sandy, what are some of those options? Like here in Seminole County in Florida, what are the options for parents?
Well, all Volusia, Orange, and Seminole are all offering virtual school. So that's, completely online. Then they have, sorry, I'm looking at my note card so I don't get it wrong. Everybody's obviously offering face-to-face. And then they also have a new thing that's very interesting. It's called Seminole Connect, Volusia Live, or Innovate in Orange County, but that's all like a live feed. So basically you get up, you have the same hours that if you were in a school. And your child is basically on the camera watching their teacher teach, and then they have an online platform to do the work. And then Seminole County is doing an interesting one, and it's a quandary for teachers what it's going to look like, but a hybrid of the kids will be attending some of the time. The kids, like your son said, I want to go to school some of the time, and then I'll be online some of the time, but what does that look like? And then how do I maintain safety, and how do we maintain what's covered? There's a lot of ifs and questions, and that goes along with the concerns that the teachers have.
Well, yeah, also, Katrina's trying right now to decide.
Yeah, for me, my son is 4, and he's supposed to be starting preschool, and so I was really excited. I went back and forth with it, honestly. It wasn't like an easy thing for me because you don't have to do preschool. And I would love to keep him home one more year, with me. But I felt like he needed it, not so much like educationally, which I'm sure he would learn a ton from it, but more so like the structure. Because owning a business, with owning, Palate, it's like we are here so much. He's constantly just my tag along. My kids are my tag along. They come wherever I need to go for business stuff, and so he doesn't have like any kind of structure, like you have to sit here for this amount of time and you have to listen to this teacher. Like he doesn't get that or understand it, and he wants it, like he asks for that. And so for me, I was excited for him to be able to experience that, but now like I'm really not sure what to do. And so I do have the option of doing like a preschool homeschool with him, which I can do, but it's like with the schedule that I do have, I don't have like a set schedule like most jobs. You know, when Palate needs me, I come and I do what Palate needs. And so how do I structure something that's going to work to where he's going to benefit from it and me not feel like I'm not preparing him enough for kindergarten? You know, I don't know like for that option.
Well, I think
that's a
Go
good
ahead.
thing too is the guilt. We haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of guilt for parents right now of what decision that they make, and so that's something that isn't really discussed. And so how do you guys feel about that?
That's like a deep question.
It is a deep question.
That is.
So I guess you can't win for losing. No matter what decision you make,
Yes.
you are going to second guess yourself. You're going to have other people that question you and, you know, question the choice that you made for your own children as their parent, knowing their needs and their wants. You know, from a guilt perspective, as humans, we are social beings. We crave,
Yes.
you know, the friendship and being together. And there's a lot that kids learn socially from being in school. And, you know, one of my biggest concerns, even though, you know, I have my boys involved in a lot of different things, was if they don't have the opportunity to be social in a healthy environment, will they look for unhealthy ways to socialize? And I know, Tina, you can speak a lot to that.
Yeah. And so that is one of the things with our world being the way it is. And, you know, as parents or grandparent, I see the struggles you guys are all going through, and listening to you, Sandy, as a teacher and all of that. But as our kids, you know, as your lives are turned upside down, their lives are being turned upside down
They are.
also. And so even though they may not show it, you know, they may not show how they're feeling because they don't know how to say it, they're being greatly affected, and they are missing their friends, and they are missing the normal things they used to do, trips to the zoo, trips to the park, you know, whatever that may be, and now they're not able to do that. And so with that, they're going to be looking for ways to be social. And because of distance learning, we've put kids on computers that were never on computers before. We've taught them how to use it where they didn't know how to use it before, and they've gone into places that they never would have gone before. And so now they know those things even at a younger age than they ever have. And whenever we put children online, they're open doors to predators and traffickers all over the world. And so that's something that really concerns me. And I know parents, I mean, some may not understand how serious it is, but that you literally are opening the door for a predator or a trafficker to be able to talk to your child online. And I have the names of, I know Missing and Exploited Children are one of the ones that have been talking about this, but our internet child exploitation complaints have risen 106%.
That's
So
insane.
that's just since COVID. It's
Wow.
up 4.1 million compared to 1 million last year. It's 4.1 million
That's
since
crazy.
COVID,
Wow.
just in a few months. And so predators, I know the Justice Department was talking about that his name is, he said it's a perfect storm. It's Steve Grocki from the U.S. Justice Department. He said right now we have a perfect storm, and that children all over the world are being unsupervised. So because just like you're talking about, Laurel, there's parents at home that are trying to work a 40-hour week or more job
Yeah.
from home, but then also try to teach their child at home. And how do you do both? Because they need your help too. They have questions, and so at times you may just be saying, well, go ahead and try and do it on your own while I finish this up for work. And that means they're online with no supervision.
Right.
So have you thought about those kind of things?
100%. You know, being a board member at Love Missions, I've taught my boys that everyone is a human trafficker or child predator unless proven not to be.
Trust no one. Better
You know,
safe than sorry.
and you know, and it's we have a close circle and they know who they can trust. And I'm happy I've raised boys that don't trust everyone. But my 5-year-old, just learning, I mean, it's crazy to see him navigate a phone or a computer. I'm like,
They know so
I'm
much.
like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
what are you just doing? But even, being on the school websites, and I know that the schools do absolutely everything that they can to
Yes,
keep
of
these
course.
kids safe. But, I think it's like Friv or something like that. It seems like a safe site for kids to go on. But then you have the pop-ups.
Yes.
And then you have the redirects.
Yes.
That initially, yes, the website is great. But then it's like a spider web of unknown to where, I mean, I've been really, really thankful that he hasn't been exposed to anything he shouldn't see as a 5-year-old. But I mean, just the amount of like issues that we've had with our home computer with like corrupted download files and viruses and things like that. It makes me wonder, like, I mean, what all could he get into?
Well, and
Go
it
ahead,
goes
Sandy.
into, and that goes into actually the educator guilt is two-sided. One, I've talked to teachers who, because of the nature of the way their skill set is, they're going back face to face, but they have middle school or high schoolers who they want to keep safe, and at the same time, their middle school and high school are like the online platform, so they're leaving them home alone while they're going to a school, and because they're trying to not only meet the needs of all their students, but also meet the
that's
needs of their own children.
Yes.
So I've talked to teachers about that. Also, the guilt of if I don't want to go back, and will my job still be there? There's the fear of, will my job still be there? Yes, of course you think it would be, but you just don't know, and it maybe look different. But there's also the guilt of what you just said is we are handing devices. I mean, that's everyone in this country. We're handing you devices, and yes, there is protective mechanisms, but we all know about Zoom bombers. I mean, they were bombing into Zoom, so the district didn't use Zoom. Well, then they were going into other platforms, and I mean, the IT departments are constantly on it, but like you said, once the device leaves the school system and it goes to a server that is not the school system's, it's no longer being monitored by our server, then that's the guilt of that and the responsibility of that. And it's a very difficult situation. And it also has to speak to the school counselors and the social workers. There's a lot of guilt of, I used to meet with this kid every single day. He had an
Right.
eating disorder. He had depression. He was suicidal. And now, how am I going to service that child who was, and I'm not able to meet with them if they're online, and then the whole dilemma is, do I go to their driveway? Do we visit? Do we do safe checks? There's a lot of unknowns that is just swirling that guilt.
Right.
I think we just need to have a lot of grace with each other right now. It's so easy for us. I mean, think about the mom shame. No matter what decision moms make,
it's terrible.
from the beginning to, are you going to have a natural birth, or do you want the drugs? Are you going to nurse? Are you
Yeah,
going to
it's always
breastfeed?
mom shame.
There's always mom shame, and now we're facing it in such a big and important way, and our kids are hearing it. Our kids are hearing, well, your mom must not care about you if they're sending you to school. My mom said I'm not safe unless I'm at home, or whatever. The judgment, and our kids are hearing it. And I think we just have to remember we're all really honestly doing the best that we can do right now. We're making the best decisions we can based on the information that we have. And face it, the information is changing by the minute. So we have to just understand that we're doing our best, and so is everyone around us. And we just need to have some grace.
I think that's part of the problem, though, is with the information changing so much. Like, you might feel like you have a decision, and then things change, and then
definitely.
you don't. Like, at one point, I did feel like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and sign him up for school. He's going to, go into school, all of that, and then things change again, and it's getting worse. Okay, well, now. And I think the other side of it for me, too, is it's like, okay, even if things do feel more safe, like our numbers start going down, whatever, things start to feel more safe. So, okay, I'll go ahead and send him, but this is his first experience with school. Right. And so do I really want it to be where he has to wear a mask and he has to social distance from other 4-year-olds? And like, is that the environment that I want like his first thing to be, Like,
I have a friend who, she's kind of going through the exact same thing, and she chose to, take her son out of school, because she just felt, they required, even though it wasn't mandated,
Right.
the school chose to require face masks. And as you have, 4 and 5-year-olds, they're developing motor skills and enunciation, and, the mask really inhibits that. And then when you're a 4 or 5-year-old exploring and playing with your friends
Yes.
and sensory and all of that. It's so important in your learning experience. Is it going to be much of an experience?
Right.
Is it
yeah.
going to be much
I mean,
different than if he had been
they
at
hold
home?
their little friends' hands, and like, is somebody going to be standing over them saying, "No, don't touch. Like, don't get that close. You guys are too close.
And they
Social
hug
distance." Like,
constantly.
yeah. I mean,
My
that's
5-year-old
not-
kissed somebody
Yes.
at school last year, so.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with the other end of it. I have older kids that are off to college, and my daughter, she wanted to move on campus and live in the dorms with her friends, and we had to say, not this semester. We think it's best that you stay home and do online classes, and that was just as hard because I think sometimes teenagers are just like the kindergartners. Keep your mask on, stop touching them, don't hug them. Are they going to be able to go away to college and still maintain social distancing? That's hard no matter what age group you're in. It's hard to think about those kinds of risks with your children.
Yep.
So I think another side of that is, we have to have grace with one another, but I think we also need to have grace with our lawmakers and our legislature
Yes.
because they are trying to make the best decisions for the whole.
Yep.
And not every decision is going to be right or not feel right to everyone. But I think we should all, walk in the fact that, like you said, we're all just doing the best that we can with the hand that we've been dealt.
Yes.
And walk through it with grace and understanding and an open mind because things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you feel comfortable with face-to-face right now, it's okay to change your mind and say,
Yes.
you know what, it was great for a couple of weeks. Let's revisit this because I'm not feeling as comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one thing that the schools have done really well is they've set up parameters for parents to be able to change their minds.
Yes.
And I think that right there was just such a blessing because you don't feel like you're locked in and like this is a concrete decision that's going to have an impact on the rest of your child's school year.
Right.
And that's one thing I really have to commend the educators for is just having that built in.
Well, and I was just going to say praise. I think we really need to remember how grace, but also praise people. Like I have told so many leaders in my district that I work for that I can't believe what you've done. I can't believe literally we had COVID shut down and in a matter of weeks what you've produced. Was it perfect? No. Were there flaws? Absolutely. There's no way you can't not have flaws. And I'm still in awe, and I've had conversations with teachers, the fact that, like you said, I mean, we've had these choices that you never thought. And the district, I think every district is prepared. If we have a spike like Katrina said, and we have to shut down again, it will happen like this because we have set up for that. So telling your teachers, you're doing a great job. Telling your principal, you're doing a great job. They'd love to hear it. I don't know how many tears. And, I'll be honest with you, I've seen some people in leadership that people always thought they were very hard-nosed, be the most compassionate, understanding towards their staff members. I've had conversations with teachers that are pregnant, and considering going back face-to-face, and they're like, okay, but my principal said, whatever you need, I'm here for you. We will do whatever to support you. So same thing with parents. The feed.
No, these are unprecedented times.
And we're in this together.
We are.
So Tina, I know that, thank you so much for giving us an outlet to be able to talk about
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
And, just kind of hopefully other parents, other people navigating this, there's a takeaway, I think, for everyone here. But from, your focus has always been keeping our children safe.
Mm-hmm.
So as parents, just kind of in closing, what are some takeaways from this situation that as parents we can apply that are going to keep our kids safe, keep us in the know, and just moving forward in the right direction?
Well, one thing I would like to say is that no matter what decision you make, we need to be keeping our children safe. So if they go back face to face, they still come home, they still get on their phones or their computers, and so parents just need to be aware who they're talking to online and what they're doing online, even if they're going to school. That doesn't change. If they're home, then, and you have a working mom, just that they need to make sure that they're on task and that they're actually talking in school, actually talking to where they're supposed to be and not talking to strangers online. Because even with gaming, I just realized I didn't even know, but there's some games that when they're online, one of the things is they get higher points if they talk to strangers. And
What?
so
That's ridiculous.
children, if we don't know, I don't know all the games, so I wouldn't have known that. And as parents, sometimes they may not know that either. So the kids are thinking they should talk to a stranger because they want to get a higher score in the game. So we just have to be aware as parents, and always communication, have open communication, talk to your children. Don't, if they did say they accidentally got on a porn site, they didn't mean to, something popped up and they got on it, they saw something that they shouldn't have saw, but now they're scared.
Right.
They don't want to talk to you about it. Well, that starts that I can't tell my parent, and then
the
when
shame.
something else
Yes.
comes, they're not going to tell my parent. And so you want to have open communication with them, so if something happens, even if they did it themselves, that they know they can come to you and say, you know what, there's somebody, at first I wanted this, but now I feel uncomfortable, this is happening to me online, and they always need to know you're a safe place that they can go to. So keep that open communication and say,
Yes.
even if you went on a site that you I didn't want you on, it's okay for you to come to me and talk about that, because you want them to be, you want to be the first person that they're going to come to.
Yes,
And so
definitely.
we don't want them, because traffickers and pedophiles use threats and those types of things. Oh, I'll tell your parent that you did this. Well, if their parent already knows, then if they have that open communication, they're not going to be able to use that against them. So that's really important. But this time more than ever, children are online more than ever. We just need to be really smart and help each other, help each other to keep our kids safe online, offline, wherever they're at. We just need to keep our kids safe. And so I think as we continue on with Coffee and Conversations and whatever it is that the topic is, we will always talk about human trafficking. At the end of this video, we'll have some links if you want to put protection on your cell phones and your computers so that you know who your children are talking to. We have those links, and we'll attach those at the end of our video. And always, if you have questions, even about today, anything you heard, please message us, and we'd be happy to help you. We're here just to, I don't know, I'm excited about this because I feel like there's not enough real conversation. It always needs to feel like it's professional and business. Not that we're not professional, but I think it's good for people to see real people with real concerns, and for us to
Yes.
freely talk about it. So I'm so excited you ladies were our first ones. Is there anybody who has a closing statement that they would like to say?
I was just going to say, because it's something that I've been kind of telling myself through this process, is that whatever decision we make at the end of this, it's the right decision.
Yes.
Because we're doing it based on what we
Right.
truly feel like is best for our child, our own specific children.
Exactly.
And so whatever that decision is, it's the right decision. And that should be the case for everybody, because we're doing, again, the best that we can. We're giving grace to each other, and your individual circumstance is your own, and it's the best decision for your family.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Agree. Yes.
And I would just add that one of the things that I think I've shared before is social media is a powerful tool. And we all have read those posts where someone has ranted about their child's teacher. It's happened to me. I've actually had someone rant on social media about me. They didn't like me and what I had done to their child. Thank goodness they didn't use my name, but I knew who they were, of course, because I'm their child's teacher. But just what's out in public, your teacher's going to see that, the educator's going to see that, the criticism's going to see that, and it's okay. And it's okay to be upset, but think about who's going to see it, and maybe have that close friend. You're like, you're not going to believe it. Then talk to the right people. But I think when we go on social media, it becomes a bashing, and I think that goes back about giving grace, giving each other grace.
Is that it, guys? No, any other statement? So if you guys, we'll close this with, join us for our next segment of Coffee and Convo, and it'll be a great topic, I can promise you. And thank you ladies for coming, and we, again, will have links, and Palate is here for you anytime you want to come and have the best coffee ever. And if you have questions on homeschooling or teacher questions or human trafficking questions or whatever you may have, you're struggling and need someone that understands that you're in the conflict of trying to figure it out, we're all here. You can just contact us, message us, and we'd be happy to help you.
And what's the website?
The website is, we have Facebook, Love Missions on Facebook, Instagram, and our website is lovemissions.net. And thank you guys for coming.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Tina.
asking us. We
Thank
appreciate it.
you.